everybody, welcome to Sew in Common and welcome to Quilt Lab. Quilt Lab is our Sunday show, and here at Sew in Common we create beautiful patchwork with the hoop of our embroidery machine. So with your embroidery machine you can do your patchwork and your finished quilting all on the one machine and turn out some really beautiful quilts and quilted projects. If you look behind me, this is this month's block called Points Home. It is a beautiful star block that we've created using Flying Geese units. And so that's kind of been what we've been discussing this month on Quilt Lab here in July. Excuse me, I have something in my eye, sorry. It's time to get my bangs trimmed, I guess. We've been using the Flying Geese unit this month. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to work with the Flying Geese some more, but we're going to work with a completely new, different type of Flying Geese unit. So stay with us, everybody. Again, hello and welcome. My name is Diana. I am the creator of the Build A Quilt Patchwork in the Hoop system, and I am thrilled to have you all with us today for our Flying Geese video called Mosaic Flying Geese. What's a Mosaic Flying Geese? Well, we're going to find out here in just a moment. So every week I typically start out with, if I can, with sharing pictures and things that you all have sent in. I haven't received anything this week, which is fine, but remember, you can always send me stuff at support@sewincommon.com, but also because you all know that I've kind of been gone for part of the week. Tuesday I was gone all day, and then Wednesday I was gone all day at the county fair. That's why we did not have Wednesday workshop. Wednesday workshop will resume this coming Wednesday, the 24th of July. So I can't wait to see you then live and in person at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. But Wednesday was the fair. We had a great time. Oh my gosh. I judged so many quilts, you guys. They were telling me that this week, like, the number of entrants was down. I can't believe that. I never can remember a year that I've judged quilts at that fair where I have had more than I had this Wednesday. And so I'm not going to show you any of them today. I know you guys were like, oh, but we want to see them, because this week I'm going to do a separate kind of bonus little video, and I'm going to go through my whole day at the fair and pictures that Dave took too. So the quilting, the fair, the whole bit. So you'll get to see that later on this week. So just kind of be on the lookout for it. If you are part of our subscription over at the website, or if you've subscribed through the website, then you'll get a notification over there when that comes out. And I'll probably post one of those little comment kind of quick things here on the YouTube channel as well, so that you know when that's ready to be viewed. But Wednesday we do come back with Wednesday workshop. Gosh, my brain's a little weird. And today I'm going to walk you through, I'm not putting a video on at the end of this. I'm actually going to walk you through during this video the creation of this new piece. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, wait, just 1 second. Instead of having that share moment for you, I've got a little meme to share with you. Cut up fabric, sew back together. Crazy you are. Ha! Laugh out loud I must. Isn't that the truth? Yoda speaks the truth, does he not? How many times have I been told, why do you cut up your fabric and then sew it back together? Well, why does any artist take something and use it to make something else? And that's exactly what we do as quilters. We take beautiful fabric and we use it in ways that create something even more beautiful. And that just happens to be that we have to cut that fabric up. So it's really no different than any other art form that uses some material or tool to create something unique and beautiful in and of its own. So Yoda, my friend, no laughing out loud, because cutting up our fabric is completely normal, right, everybody? So I thought that one was kind of cute. If you like the idea of memes, if you like those little cartoons and things, join us on Wednesday night for Workshop Live, because I show several. We usually get some pretty good laughs out of those. All right, so this month we have been working on the Flying Geese Unit. Flying Geese Unit really is such a useful segment block in quilting. because you have 3 places to use fabric. You can use it here in the center. Now, people say that this is the goose and these are the sky, but that's not how I describe it. So if I describe it differently than what you've learned, if you're a quilter who's been quilting with other techniques for a while, you'll have to excuse me. But I say this is the body of the goose and this is the goose's wings. See how they would flap and the goose would fly. That's how I think of it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Do you say goose and sky, or are you like me and say goose body and goose wings, or do you say something completely different? Let us know, because there's always more than one way to describe something in quilting. Have you not learned that? I sure have. Over my 55 plus years as a quilter, I've learned that a lot. But this is the Flying Geese unit, and you've got those 3 places to use fabric. And when you use fabric differently in different places, it really helps you define a shape, extend a color. You can kind of see in this month's block called Points Home, where by changing the body of the goose to 2 different colors, one of the geese gives the body of the geese gives us our overall background color, and then one of these gives those very distinctive points into the center of the star. And then our wings on all of our Flying Geese units, that's what creates our star points for that block. So a Flying Geese unit can be really, really quite useful. And so here is another, this is a smaller one, done that same way, just 2 colors, but forgot to grab one out of my little stash box right there. I keep segments in there, so I have them in hand. But this is another Flying Geese unit, same exact one as this one, but it uses 3 colors. And that is what helped us create last week's block, the Flying I keep wanting to say the Flying Dutchman because that is an opera that I love, the Flying Dutchman. And there is an opera performer named Greer Grimsley. He and his wife also sings opera, and they sang in a lot of operas for us out in Seattle. And he has an incredible voice. His wife has a lovely voice as well. I've always enjoyed listening to Loretta's singing as well. But Greer plays the Flying Dutchman. And so it's for Dave and I, it's one of our favorite operas. So I'm always calling this block the Flying Dutchman when it's really the Dutchman's puzzle. So we made the Dutchman's puzzle block. Now this is kind of an expanded Dutchman's puzzle because traditional Dutchman's puzzles are only made with 1, 2, 3 colors. In this one we have 4. But then we created it into this larger block. In fact, I plan on making this into just a simple mat because I really love it. I think it's really pretty. I'm going to quilt it, bind it, and be done with it. But that is what this block did for us. So can you see here, this is that Flying Geese unit here, and that's what helped to create in the Dutchman's puzzle all of these spinning pinwheels in the center. So really, really useful block. But back a few months ago, I think it might have been in March, we created a project from our monthly block, and it was called the Mosaic Tulips. I will attach that video here at the end. If you haven't done it and you like this idea of, I'm just putting myself a note here to make sure and attach it at the end. If you like this idea of mosaics, I told you we would be doing more, and I chose to start out with the Flying Geese unit because that's what we're doing. We today are creating a mosaic Flying Geese unit. Isn't that incredible? I love it. Oh, I love it so much. In fact, I'm almost of the thought that I'm going to go in and probably at some point digitize all the basic units for quilting as mosaics too, because look at what happens when you do just a basic, what you would call normally a 2-color Flying Geese unit. You can get all kinds of color in here. This is a great way to use your scrap fabric. So like me, I have my little barrel of scrap fabric. I just go in, and with mosaics, you can pick randomly, or you can pick very specific colors. So like on this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 4 or 5 of them I had in here. This one is a print, a Tulip print that had all of these other colors in it. And then I chose the red and the aqua and the yellow and the green. And that's how I came up with it. And the cutting is so fun for this because it's just all free form. There's no right, there's no wrong. The only thing I would say is when you're cutting, try to cut rounded edges because it lays smoother in the end when your needle is stitching over it. And so this unit is also made with a little quilting on it to hold everything down. However, and we're going to see all of that today in the demonstration. Now, you may have seen some embroidery designs that use a mosaic type of scenario in them, where you have to lay down a piece of melt away stabilizer and stuff over the top to keep everything held down and all that. I've done those and I like them, but I don't like the technique only because I can never get that top layer of melt away that you use with your iron stabilizer out. It stays in the stitches and it makes them super duper stiff. Look at how soft this is. And that's because there's no additional stabilizer in it at all. And when I wash my stabilizer away on the back, this is going to hold together just fine because we have this little bit of quilting over it. So this process is made just a little bit different than we would make just a general Flying Geese unit. Now, if you make 2 of these Flying Geese units and you don't have the ability to make yourself a diamond and a square, put 2 of them together just like that, and you get a diamond and a square. And so not only can you use your scraps with this, but you can really add lots of color. And so if you don't have a fabric that is exactly what you want for your project, what about looking through your scraps and seeing that you might have the colors you want that will go with an overall project for your flying and using your Flying Geese units, and make the mosaics. It adds texture. It adds visual delight to it to see all of that. So I have fallen in love with making these little segments in mosaic. And we will continue to do more because when we did the tulips back in March, you folks kind of went a little nuts for those. You loved them. And I'm thrilled about that because I loved them too. I really have loved working out and figuring out how to do this project or this type of segment and have it really work in any quilt. So this could be substituted for any Flying Geese unit in your project. Okay. Now, we do have a pattern available for you. I'll tell you more about at the end. It is for this one size for now. In the future, we might come out with sets, but that's still off in the future. But this is a 5-inch width. So for any pieces that you have, blocks that you have that have 5-inch Flying Geese units in them, this could be substituted. And of course, you get your all of your information and all in it, and it's just an inexpensive price on it. I think it's $4 or $5, something like that, but you can get that over at the website and get started making your own Flying Geese. So you've probably seen Flying Geese quilts where they are just rows and rows of Flying Geese units. What about doing one of rows and rows of Mosaic Flying Geese units? Oh my gosh, I just think it would be stunning. And you could, if you wanted, choose 3, 4, 5 fabrics and make them all the same. But even though you use the same fabric, every Flying Geese unit will still be different and unique because you're never going to put the same fabrics in the same place twice. They're never going to be exactly the same shape twice. So I think this is just a super fun thing to do. So that is our mosaic, and we are going to get started here. Let me just stop this for a moment. We are going to get started on the demonstration now. So let me flip over to our other camera. So here we are. I'm all set up at the machine. I've got my pattern in here. And so, of course, the very first thing we do, let me turn on the light. I did have a light for this There we go. Is we're going to stitch machine stitch 1 and machine stitch out 2 directly onto our water soluble stabilizer. And while that's doing that, you can see here I've just chosen some scraps of fabric that I had. Now these all happen to be Kimberbell fabrics that I had. In fact, this one is not a basic. This was for specific projects, but these were all basics here, the rest of these. I may or I may not use them, but the one thing I like about this confetti is all of these colors are in the confetti as well. So kind of fun there. So they don't have to be in any perfect shape, anything like that. In fact, you can see I've already started using a scrap for my Flying Geese units that I've already made. You definitely want your wash away fabric glue pen. Absolutely. And alrighty, so our first stitch out is on the stabilizer. Now we're going to do machine step 2. Now the first thing I want to tell you about doing mosaics, folks, is you want to do them at a slower speed. 500 stitches per minute max. That's what I have this set on. And that really is to help control the little bit of quilting that goes on. I'm sorry if you're hearing that noise. When I'm filming this for Sunday, Dave happens to be out mowing the grass, so I apologize. Can you see in there? Can you see? It's just a little simple stitch, okay? And you really can't even tell that it's in there. And here is my second tip for doing these. Normally, I always use that kind of a light pearl gray thread. I want you to use white thread or a thread that really blends with your colors. So I could have used that really pretty light aqua that I like, but I chose white because I did the wings in white. And you can't really even see the quilting on there, which is kind of nice. It's kind of the point. You don't want the quilting or the stitching on here to show up. You want the mosaic to be seen. All right, so let's take a look here at what we've got going on now. We've done our first and second stitch outs steps. So that's step 1, that's step 2. Now, normally at this point, we'd put a little glue right here and slap our first piece of fabric down and it would stitch again. But we don't want to do that because the first thing we're going to do is work on this section with the mosaic. We're going to work on this part. Now, one thing I'm going to suggest to you is that you take yourself a pen, a pencil. I'm going to use a marker so you can see it. And let me grab my ruler. And so this is our border line, right? Well, with the mosaic, let me bring up my other sample here and you can see what I mean. With the first one that I created, I was really careful about putting my mosaic fabrics within this line. And I forgot I need to have fabric outside of here so that when I trim it out, I have fabric for my seam allowance. And so when this gets washed out, I wouldn't have any fabric there. So I really technically can't use this piece. So what I want you to do is to take your ruler and put your 1/2 inch line on the border line here and just give yourself a little line there. And when we place our first bit of fabric, we're going to place it out in here, a little bit over the line and the rest out of the line. So to make sure that we have fabric there when we go to stitch our seams and all later on. All right. So the first thing I want to do is just choose a fabric. Now, really honestly, I don't go by any creed on this. I just choose a fabric and start cutting. So I know I'm going to start working in this area right here for me. You could start up here if you wanted, or here or in the middle and work out. It doesn't technically matter, but you're just going to cut yourself a piece of fabric. I try to do it kind of rounded. I do a little straight away, any kind of cut you want. You like cutting figures like hearts and circles and stuff, do that. Now this is a pretty good size piece. However, I want this piece to go above my line and I want it to go below. So I'm going to kind of use that like that. And there's no right or wrong for how you place this or where you place it. Your fabrics will overlap a little bit. That's normal. So I'm going to place this here and I put a little glue on there and I'm just going to glue it down. Now I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to cut again. Now see how when I cut this, this came out with a pretty sharp point. I always like to round those off. Those end up then being sewn over by the embroidery machine much smoother. They don't tend to get caught. Putting a little glue there. And now I'm going to put that there. And so, do I like that? Well, that covered a lot of my yellow. So maybe I don't like that. Maybe I want to do it right there. Yeah, I kind of like that better. I'll do that for sure. Now I'm going to maybe think about doing that piece in a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and finish down my row here. So I have a piece here that I'm going to, and I tend personally to get in a little bit of a rut in my shaping. So try to be as random in your shaping as you can. But for this first piece, it's okay if you're not, because you want a little bit of fabric above and the rest of the fabric below, because really you're just making your seaming fabric. So how that fits in there is not a huge deal. Okay, so here I just cut this piece off. I'm going to round that, and I'm going to round that and that little point, and just toss those away. I'm going to put a little glue stick on it. And there we go. Okay, so I have a little bit of fabric up in here now, but I have fabric all along that seaming area. I'm cool now. I can just go for it and do whatever I want to do. So now I'm going to use this red fabric. Like I said, these are all Kimberbell fabrics that I just happen to have in my scrap bucket. Now see, I got a little better with my shapes there. Trimming my little points. This almost looks like a little snail, this little piece. But I'm going to cover that little hole and put that there. Actually, I might be able, yeah, there I can go. I can, and if a little bit goes along the lines above these lines where the wings will be, that's okay too. Nobody's judging. There's not anything you have to do that's got to be perfect. Now I think I'm going to do another little bit of my, if I were doing truly scrappy, I would just be picking colors of fabric from my scrap bin. But I chose these specifically just because I knew they would all go together. And sometimes that's easier for you guys to see. Alrighty, now I'm going to put a little fabric glue here. And we're going to come in, I think, and all I'm doing is kind of laying them down and seeing if I like them or not. And I do like that. Very good. Now I'm going to use this color. This is that fabric I've been using a lot lately on those star blocks, and I just love it. And this is one of the scraps. So for me, if I have fabric that I really love, I definitely save the fabrics, because then I'll get to see it again in another project, even if it's just in a mosaic. Okay, I'm laying that over there. And so you can see all I'm doing is filling in this piece. Now I'm making these pieces kind of a nice size, because this is a relatively good size space here. However, don't feel that you have to do that. If you want to make your pieces much smaller and have your mosaic much smaller and much more fine-tuned, and much to have the mosaic itself be far more dense, then go for it. Do it. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do it that way, because really in mosaics, there's no right or wrong. So I'm going to put that there, and I still have a little bit here to go. And those require really tiny pieces. However, I'm going to take my fabric and I'm just going to kind of cut a piece about this size. I could make it bigger if I wanted, but I'm just going to pop that in there just like that. Now let's see, maybe we can do some more red up here. What do you think? And I try to see how I have these cuts and dips in my fabric. I try to use those to guide me into different shapes and stuff that I wouldn't necessarily think about. Because like I said, I try to keep things rounded, but in doing that, I end up sometimes with the same kinds of fabric shapes. I'm going to just pop that one off. Give myself a little fabric glue. And I think I'll put that one right there. There. How's that going? What do you guys think? I'm really interested for you guys to do comments and tell me what you think about this process and this idea and how you think you would use it. Because I really believe, since you guys had so much fun with this back in March, I think we might end up doing a much bigger project with a mosaic. I haven't planned it yet, but that's where my head and my heart is leaning, is to do a bigger mosaic project. Okay, so see how that goes over like that? I'm not wild about that. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to take that off and I'm going to round it. I'm not going to throw that little piece away because I know I can use it, but I'm going to do that instead. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Now I could, if I wanted, just put that little piece right there. And it doesn't matter, and they should cover each other just a wee little bit, okay? So they shouldn't be edge to edge. They should all cover over each other just a little bit. Now, what do I want there? Do I want blue there? No. Green. Maybe let's try some yellow. So on this scrap, I kind of have this weird little piece hanging off here. So I'm just going to do a rounded piece there, round this off, and maybe go ahead and cut that just like that. There, maybe like that. Let's see. And before I put my glue on, I just try to play with it and figure it out where I want my piece to be, how I think I'm going to like it. And I know I have yellow right here, but I'm going to put something here that's going to separate it. So I'm good with it being like this. Put a little bit of glue on there, bring it back, pop that right down. Now, I've got these two pieces of confetti, and I think that might be all the confetti I want to use. I think I'm going to put a little bit of green there. So on this green piece, I have just that little piece right there. I'm just going to cut that, put my glue on it, and I'm going to put that right there. Yeah, and now I want a little bit of blue there, I think, too. So I'm going to take and just make another little rounded piece. Alrighty, now I still have a little open right there, so I think I'll go ahead and add just a wee bit more of the red. And then my mosaic part will be finished, and I can go ahead and start the quilt or the stitching over it to hold it all down. Alrighty. Now I could have worked from the inside out or from side to side, whatever I wanted to do. All of that is really up to you. And remember, some of this is going to get cut off down here. So we're really looking at this part in here. Now we're going to put it back in, and we're going to start the quilting. And while we're doing that, I have to get myself some fabric for my wings because I forgot to bring that piece over. Luckily, I have a piece here in the scrap bin that will do that for me. Now, normally, when this is working, I've got it set at 500 stitches a minute, but what I always do is I kind of keep an eye on it a little bit. If it looks like something is popping up and my needle or the foot is going to grab onto it, then I just stop it. I kind of arrange it a little bit, kind of tack it back down, and then I let it go. But this is working out really, really well. You can see it's just rolling right over it. You might want to move your foot up a little bit, adjust it up just a tiny bit. Okay, so hang on. That flipped just a wee bit, but it's down at the seam part. Oh, no, it didn't. Okay, I'm good. So we're good there. I thought it flipped, but it didn't. Alrighty, so the quilting part is done, and now I'm going to run, this would normally be where we tack down the piece of fabric, and that's exactly what we're going to do here, is we're going to run a tack line all the way around that triangle of fabric. And it kind of helps to catch any of the little pieces that are on those edges that might be trying to cause us trouble. Alrighty. So now I had a rectangle instead of a square, but I went ahead and cut it on the diagonal, and I'm going to use that for my wings. And I'm going to put a dab of glue there. And now we're going to stitch this down. And then we'll flip it and stitch it all the way down. And you can do this. Now, I've done my wings with white fabric, but you can do this with any color fabric you want. Your wings in this case would be a background, and I would suggest that you use a solid, but you could use any solid, any of the solids that you've chosen in your mosaic, or just another different solid altogether that kind of blends with everything. That's entirely up to you. Doing mosaics in quilting is really it's like taking the artwork of quilting to a whole nother level, creating a whole nother type of art within the art form of quilting. You know, I love it that we call quilting an art form now, when it used to be, way back in history, one of the most utilitarian things that people did, because they created quilts to keep themselves warm. We didn't have central heating and things to keep ourselves warm in the middle of the winter when it could be below zero out or at freezing or even a little bit above freezing. All you had was a fire to keep you warm. And so quilts were very utilitarian. But I love that nowadays we can use them as art forms. I love that. Alrighty, so here we are. We've done both of our wings just like we would with any other Flying Geese unit. And now we're going to do our final stitch line all the way around. And normally we cover any places where things connect if we think our foot could hit it. Now, if we go this way, our foot isn't going to get caught there because it's going with that fabric. Same here, but it could get caught right there a little bit. So I'm going to take just a little bit of my fabric tape and I'm going to place it outside the stitch line. And then we're going to stitch that all the way around. And we will have created an entire mosaic Flying Geese unit. Now, these are not the same exact fabrics, but the colors are similar. So those could be used in the same piece if I were just making something of the same color family. But the one thing about mosaics, if you do them scrappy, you can completely do as much color in it, as much different color in it as you would like. And so here, before we take this out, here are what's left of my fabric scraps that I started with. And I will keep all of these because I can use them for more mosaics. I could probably make at least, with these two colors, at least 2 more mosaics, maybe 3, and 3 or 4 with these other colors. So there's plenty of fabric there for mosaic quilting. With mosaic quilting, with mosaic patchwork, really that should be the proper name, it's almost impossible to have too small of a piece of fabric. Okay, I'm going to turn off our light. We're going to go back over to our main camera. There we go. Alrighty, everybody. So what did you think of Mosaic Flying Geese? So now I'm just going to cut this out just like I would any other Flying Geese unit, just like I did this Flying Geese unit. And then I can start using them in projects. So you can use this as a, whoops, let me bring this up. You could use this as a 5-inch corner piece. If you wanted to have it on the outside, you know, with Flying Geese units, you can use these to make your stars. So if you made 4 of these and you had a square for the center, a 5-inch square of some sort in the center, and these could be your star points. I mean, you could do all kinds of beautiful things with these. In fact, I will try and do up a little full square for you to see. I didn't quite have the ability to do that this week, and I knew it was going to take longer this week just to do the demonstration. But I will show you something made with these next week so that you can see and get a little idea. Now, that's the one we made today, and we're just going to trim that out, and it will be as beautiful as the one I made prior. What do you guys think? Seriously, let me know in the comments. You can get your Flying Geese, your Mosaic Flying Geese Units pattern set. You get your digital file, which has everything that we just did, including this stitching. Now, here's a little clue for you on the stitching. If you have any other Flying Geese units, like this one, and you want to do just some specialty quilting within there when you're doing your quilting, the stitching for this can be pulled out of the pattern and used to quilt within your other Flying Geese units if you want this quilting to look different or special, or you're just quilting those center segments. So you can use that stitching because it's just a simple stipple for a quilting design as well and fit that into your projects. So you kind of have a double use there, which I like to do that for you guys. So you can get your Mosaic Flying Geese Unit pattern set at our website, sewuncommon.com. Of course, all of our different quilting patterns and design sets are there as well. And if you subscribe over on the website, that's a free subscription, then basically that's our email list, and you get notified when there's new things coming out. You get our blog sent to you directly, all that kind of stuff. I never share your information. My husband doesn't even get into my computer to help me with that kind of stuff. I take care of all of that because your safety is really important to me. But all of that is over at the website. Again, I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you have not done so already, subscribe here at the YouTube channel. We'd love to have you as part of the Sew in Common family. It's because of all of you that we have grown the way we have. And you guys have you've touched me in ways I didn't think my old heart could be touched anymore, just to be completely honest. Never thought I would be awed again, you know. Kind of old, getting a little jaded, but you guys have just put me in awe with your kindness, your subscribing, your generosity, your support, and I love every one of you so much. So please go ahead and subscribe, like, and share the videos. That's how other people find us. That's how this group has really grown, is because of all of you. So we'd love to have more of your friends, your family, maybe some of the folks that you quilt using other techniques that are also embroiderers, maybe tell them about this. They might still want to do all their quilts in the way they've done them before, but maybe mosaics like this, something they'd like to try to do on their embroidery machine, give them something else to do. Alrighty, again, everybody, thank you so very much for joining us today for Quilt Lab and Flying Geese Mosaics. Our pretty little flying geese mosaics. And until next time, we'll see you Wednesday for Wednesday workshop at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time live here on the channel. And that also broadcasts into our Facebook channel, which is Sew in Common as well. So until then, everybody, go sew life beautiful. Bye for now.